Yeah, Wimbledon was full of lovely characters. It has changed somewhat. Even in my tenure here, I've seen some wonderful characters. Unfortunately, they're no longer with us. But, they're replaced. And people come up. People like... Yeah. That's, again, going back to what the essential thing about a pub is. You can't have all the same people. You need a mixture of people. You need characters to come in.
Yeah.
And also for us, for other customers, and this is where we've lost... Sorry to go back to all the restrictions recently.
Well, no,
but
we're living it, aren't we?
We've lost all that.
Yeah.
And the sooner we get back to that, the better. And I think for our own health, mental health, it's something we have to do, really.
We have to. I mean, because you get to the point where the virus is no longer the threat it was, but we're now mentally we're still suffering, and we've got to try and get on with things beyond that.
Hello and welcome to Marriott Side Trips, the podcast sharing the real life stories of the people I meet along the way. I'm Stephen Marriott, traveller, best-selling author and grounded podcaster. Discovering new people and places is what gets my creative juices flowing, but given travel has been a little bit tricky of late, I've decided to get to know better those people who are able to cross my path. In the main, that's been London's local traders who've been keeping the city ticking over, and today I'm excited to be chatting to the landlord of my local pub, Andrew Ford of the Hand in Hand in Wimbledon. Pubs are often at the heart of a community, therefore with the various lockdowns it's been a difficult time not just for the people that work in them, but also for their patrons. Caught up with Andrew last month in June at a point when customers were allowed back inside pubs but were still not allowed to crowd around the bar. It was hard not to talk about the challenges of the lockdown directly, but of course Andrew had many more stories to share. He isn't a landlord for nothing.
So, hello Andrew.
Well, Stephen, welcome to the Hand in Hand.
Thank you very much.
I wish the weather had been a bit better for your journey, but we're sat inside. It was a lovely pub. You can see just in lunchtime's just finishing off now. It's been very busy, very, very busy, and we've gone through lockdown, and it's been a bit of a challenge. But we're coming out the other end now. Yeah, we're coming out the other end, and it's we can see light when the weather's nice because of our location. We're literally, if people don't know where we are, we're right on the edge of Wimbledon Common. We're literally facing King's College School. We have our own little bit of grass in the front, and we're lucky here to have this lovely, lovely pub that has its own terrace and frontage. And also we've got a pavement licence. So we've been able to literally look after the customers throughout by having almost al fresco dining, al fresco drinking. The only thing at the moment is, unfortunately, people are allowed in the pub, but we're just losing the drinkers around the bar.
Well, yes. I mean, it is a beautiful pub, and it's like stepping into a village pub here. Even though we're still in London, southwest London, as you say, Wimbledon. Emma and myself, I think we first met you about September 2019. I think we came in, we had fish and chips.
Good old pub food.
A nice bottle of wine, and I think you introduced us to your uncle. So it's that real kind of family, as I say, family feeling of a village pub. The decor is very much like that. It reminds me of, what was that programme, Mr. Ben in the 70s or 80s I used to see, when you go through the wardrobe door into another place and you leave London and you come into a village pub. But yes, I do agree. I mean, I raise my glass to say, thank God
Cheers.
we'd be able to drink inside now. But yes, I guess there's one more stage to go, and that's standing at the bar, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment it's pure service from table service, basically, which is great. And a lot of we do attract a more mature clientele base, and they're more than happy to to have the service. But I still get an awful lot of customers who just want to pop in for a drink. And the whole thing about pubs is you're not just popping on your own; you're meeting people. Even if you don't know them initially, you get to know them, and that's all. It's my job as well to introduce. And I'm missing that a little bit. I'm missing that a lot, actually, to be brutally honest. Friday night was a good example. The weather wasn't brilliant. The tables were full of diners, but as soon as the diners go, there's a big gap, and that buzz.
There aren't many places where you can sort of rock up to somewhere that in terms of hospitality on your own, rub shoulders with a stranger, and be able to sort of strike up a conversation,
absolutely.
and not feel like they think you're a bit weird for doing that, because it's kind of normal within a pub. And there's that kind of vibe and atmosphere that comes with that conversation, isn't there? And this is clearly a conversation pub. You don't have music loud or anything like that.
No, we don't need it because we've got low ceilings. We've got very low ceilings, all beamed. To be honest, the music is the people talking. It's the customers talking. And at the end of the day, for me, what pub's solely about, yes, we do a service, we sell food, we sell drink. But especially now, and it's been noted how many people are very lonely and how many people are missing people.
Yeah.
And this is what we do. This is what we do on a daily basis, is we basically either introduce people together, or just some people just like to sit in a pub with a book, but they want to have the ambience around them of that life. And it's been so difficult.
Wow.
And we've gone through, as a publican, we've really struggled a little bit. And I know some guys out there have really struggled. We're very lucky with the food in respect to we've really hit a march. We do homemade food. My wife is head chef as well, going back to your more family side of things. The staff, I've got very long-term staff here, and they are my family. And it's quite interesting how we also have the staff we have brothers and sisters who come through the ranks.
Interesting.
Through the years. And it sets... sometimes, for me, just to walk down to the bank, say, could take forever because I'm just stopped constantly. Yeah. But the location, we're on the edge of Wimbledon Common. It's a gorgeous location. We're very blessed to have that. I've inherited a real ale house.
Yeah, indeed.
Which we're sampling.
Yes, the young special, isn't it? I think
brand new, beautiful pint of special. Beautiful pint of special. When I first came here all those years ago, I looked at the history of the pub, found that it didn't have a spirit license for many, many years. Well, until Young's took it over. It was owned by a family for over 100 years, the Hollands. Prior to that, it was owned by Mr. Watney, Daniel Watney, who was the grandfather of the Watney's brewing empire.
Okay.
And he was the landowner around here. This was a bakery.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're brilliant because you're preempting all my questions. I was going to ask you what the history is. It's a bakery then?
So basically, the pub started life as a bakery.
Yeah.
It was loads of my true address. It's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Crooked Billet. Crooked Billet is the bit of grass in front of us. It's
so
the
that's
shape
the bit
of the
we're
grass.
allowed to drink on as well, then.
That's right. Yeah. We got another Young's pub right next door. It's called the Crooked Billet.
That's right. Yeah.
And they put deck chairs and stuff out. I'm very lucky to have a little bit in the middle, where the dray horses used to deliver to the two pubs.
Really?
It's a little bit of no man's land, so I'm quite lucky to have sort of that area, which I put tables and chairs on, take them away at night, but put them back out in the morning, and try to again make people feel relaxed, make people feel like they're almost inside the pub outside.
And that was another lucky thing for us, your punters, when
so.
you reopened again and you could only drink outside, but at least there was more space to be able to do that, and that probably helped some people feel a bit more relaxed and confident that you could, and they weren't sort of all bunched together. So and that was great. And
even
we had some sun then as well, didn't we?
We did for a week, I think. I think we also had gales and snow, and I remember opening on the 12th of April. I pretty much cried in the morning. It was.
I remember looking out the window thinking the pubs can be open, but today, and I did think of you actually.
Oh God, it was awful. I mean, luckily the sun came out, and by 11 o'clock all the snow had melted.
And I think, am I right in saying, I think by kind of like within about 3 or 4 days, at least by the Sunday, the sun had kind of come out.
That's right.
Yeah.
But we've gone through gale force, whatever. It's been hard work. It really has. And do you know what? I feel so blessed and privileged to have amazing customers who literally sitting outside in, one chap, bless him, he had 3 coats on. But they were determined to support the pub, to come out, to be as normal as possible.
Good for them.
And it actually moved me a little bit that people are, so literally supportive, very, very supportive. For us, yes, it's been difficult. We've gone through closure, almost 8 months of a financial year was closure.
That could have not been easy. I mean, not easy just financially, and I mean, obviously there's a support. I mean, you're part of Young's Brewery, but about it's the mental thing. It's like you're a landlord. I mean, I know you're running this, and it's a big organisation for a lot of staff. But a landlord fundamentally pulls pints, serves his customers, and that must have been difficult for you in that sense.
It was very strange, mentally? Very, very, very much so. It is difficult. Of course, it's difficult. At the same time, the staff as well. We've got a lot of young people, a lot of them who literally don't live with their families. I did make a point several times of actually trying to contact them via WhatsApp. Really? Or just a telephone call, to ask for their well-being. Also for myself, I would come down every day, regardless if I needed to, just to keep an eye on the plants outside and say hello, just to say hello, and I'll make sure.
You.
Yeah, there's a few people out there who the pub is the only point of contact they have with other people.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point because we all know when we go back to say villages that pubs were the heart of the community.
Absolutely.
But I think. Just talking to you now and being reminded, and from my own sort of point of view, that we're reminded that we all need a place to go in a community.
Yeah.
And pubs, I think in the modern day and age, are pretty much, communities disjointed a bit these days, but you've always got the pub to come to. And that's so important, isn't it? And,
also when people are working at home. Especially in this area, a lot of people do work in the city, but not now. So you're literally trapped within your 4 walls.
Yeah.
You do need to get out, and sometimes just get out with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I actually came up here, I think, with the period again when you could just coming up leading up to Christmas when you were allowed to reopen
for that 2 weeks.
With food, plus food sort of thing. It was a small window. And I actually, just to get out from me working from home,
Yeah.
I came up here, had some food, and just sat here with my laptop, and it was okay. I wasn't engaging with people in the same way, but it was like I'm in a different environment, and it's a cozy, nice environment to be in.
And I think when that was gone, that went for a long time, and a lot of people. Okay, we were blessed in the summer; the weather was gorgeous, but at the same time, we weren't allowed to be with anybody.
No.
And now it's getting a bit more relaxed. It's getting a bit more sort of. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
And for us, we're lucky to have our location common. We have been, don't get me wrong, we've been very busy, and it's been phenomenal. But at the same time, I'm hoping that a lot of people will come back and rejoin us, and not feel so anxious.
I hope so. Yeah.
We still keep. I think we'll still keep sort of the masks on. I still think there will be certain social distancing between tables and such forth.
I think there'll be element, and I think that part of that would just be the sense to reassure those people who are a bit more, who may be vulnerable, say, or just are a little bit nervous, and then we get past that when generally the majority of people are feeling, because they're just not used to getting back out. People. But I don't want to dwell on this because you're a great pub. And I want to find out a bit more about you. So we were talking just before, and you reminded me that I think you've been involved in this pub for about 12 to 13 years.
Yeah, 13, 14 years
13,
actually.
14
yeah,
years.
I came up here, and it was an absentee landlady for a while, and it literally was. It was just there was no love to the pub, and I came in initially, just gave it a bit of TLC, and bit by bit I could see that it had great potential.
Yeah.
Especially with having an outside courtyard and area. So I extended what was an overgrown garden into tables and chairs.
It's been extended, okay.
We
the
put
garden, you mean?
into what was a garden
Yeah.
in the front of the pub. It's now tables and chairs. Also, people do want to eat outside. In a nice summer's day, you want to be outside.
Well, it's stunning there, looking across the green.
Across the common.
Yeah.
Also, I've extended. The council very kindly granted me a pavement licence, so I've also can go further on.
Yeah.
We I try to maintain it, keep it up to standard. This is where table service comes in. This is where table service works. So you can have people, so you don't feel you have to march all the way into a bar because a lot of times you got that last drink and can I be bothered to come in? If someone comes up to you and says, "Can I serve you? Can I help you?"
Okay.
You're going to stay for one more drink. You're going to be more relaxed, and that's something I am going to continue doing.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure that's precedent. For the pub itself, we had a massive refurb 2 years ago.
Okay.
We utilised rooms that literally weren't used before. So we now have 2 lovely little dining room
Probably
areas.
when we discovered it, maybe 2 years ago. Yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
We had a lovely opening day. 2nd of April we opened, in fact. And then we traded for a few weeks after that, and then we had a grand opening. We affiliated ourselves with stables in the area. One of the reasons being that is my wife, bless her, all those years ago when we first came in, she said, "I like to go horse riding." And so I said, "Okay." So I bought her some tickets. I bought her 6 weeks worth of horse riding lessons for a Christmas present. It took her all the way to June to get the courage to do it.
Is that the stables in the village?
That was actually, unfortunately, the stables are not there anymore. It's the Ridgeway stables, which is just closest to us. So she got very involved in that, and it became a lifesaver in the respect of when you're working multiple hours in a kitchen in an enclosed environment.
Yes.
Just to get on a horse and go into the open countryside is a complete revelation. So, unfortunately, that stables was forced to close.
Okay.
And we ended up purchasing one of the horses.
Oh, did you?
And so we're now affiliated with Park Lane Stables in Teddington, who've had their issues recently and being bought out and everything. But we saw a horse, a lovely, gorgeous horse called Jay. And from that also we got to know the guys very, very well in the village stables. Okay. And they come down here, they bring the horses down onto the common.
I've noticed before, it's not just dogs which are welcome. Anything with 4 legs or 2 legs,
Dogs. We've I don't know how, but we won London's most friendly dog pub 3 years in a row, UK's most friendly dog pub. It's part of our location, it's part of our ethos here. We love animals. Yeah. Even the 2-legged variety, we tolerate.
You tolerate,
at times. Perhaps late on a Saturday night might be a different answer. But, it's very much our area. I keep the dog bowls going all the time outside, full of fresh water. In the mornings when I'm setting up, I have a pocket full of dog biscuits. I've quite a few neighbours now. We all know the dogs. We know that actually the dog's names more so than the actual customers' names, so the neighbours' names. Which is... it's how it should be, really.
Nice.
I think
That's nice. Well, it fits in with the sort of village feeling, obviously, round here. And so you're talking about customers, not just four-legged friends. We do live in the pub's in a very desirable part of London. Large houses, etc. But one of the things that struck me as well is that the pub. It's not sort of highbrow in that sense. It's very welcoming.
Welcome everybody.
But tell us a bit about the kind of your regulars or the various people that visit the pub.
Yeah, we huge cross section, as you can imagine. You've got a lot of old money in this area, but you've also a lot of people who actually come to us who don't necessarily live in the area, but they come up from the surrounding. And to me, I don't care where someone comes from or where they live. It's all about we all look after each other.
Yeah.
And if they're enjoying the environment we give and enjoying the service we give, they become very good friends of ours as well.
Okay.
We do have quite a few. I wouldn't say celebrities as such, but we're very blessed to have Sir Trevor McDonald's one of our regulars.
Oh, is he? Okay.
We're very blessed to have Mark Reed, who's Oliver Reed's son, who's a friend of mine as well. He's very much a regular and one of the nicest guys you would ever
Oliver
meet.
Reed did used to frequent this pub.
Oliver Reed, indeed.
Well, a lot of pubs around Wimbledon, I believe.
He frequented every pub, actually. I think he's... Yeah. Yes, he was quite a character.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'd handle him to this day. I'd probably bar him, actually, to be honest. Some of the antics he got up to. Example here was in the days, apparently, thank God I didn't witness firsthand, but it was one of the days when pubs closed in the afternoon and he always had his entourage. Right. And he decided to recite Shakespeare, but his way of reciting Shakespeare would be to be on a table, trousers down, beer in hand.
refusing to leave
at all. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I find that interesting. It beats watching the football on the telly.
I guess so. Yes,
but it's something we don't.
Interesting.
We moved on from, thank heaven. But Wimbledon was full of lovely characters. It has changed somewhat. Even in my tenure here, I've seen some wonderful characters. Unfortunately, they're no longer with us. But they're replaced, and people come up. People like. That's again going back to what the essential thing about a pub is. You can't have all the same people. You need a mixture of people. You need characters to come in.
Yeah.
And also for us, for other customers, and this is where we've lost. Sorry to go back to all the restrictions recently.
Well, no,
but
we're living it, aren't we?
We've lost all that.
Yeah.
And the sooner we get back to that, the better. And I think for our own health, mental health, it's something we have to do, really.
We have to. I mean, because you get to the point where the virus is no longer the threat it was, but we're now mentally we're still suffering, and we've got to try and get on with things beyond that. And
and also, I must say, I know it sounds like but I'm not sucking up to it. It's the company I work for. They've been phenomenal. They've looked after everybody and their member staff since day one, and I'm quite proud of that, actually. They've been very, very good, and also with when we did come back to work, everything was done. We actually had independent auditors coming out to make sure we were safe, the customers were safe.
Really?
And we did, and to this day we still actually have that happening, which it's not a bad thing, really, and this will continue on.
Yeah. Well, Young seem to do things right. I mean, in terms pubs have evolved, and you do food very well. And I would say, it's your sort of home comfort type food.
That's right.
But done with quality.
Yeah.
And Young's have obviously embraced the sort of the gastro style food and eating, and this is obviously represented here. But how are you just talking about that? I guess that's more your wife. She's called Elsie, isn't it?
My wife's called Elzbieta.
Yeah.
We've been together forever.
And then
I could never pronounce it when I first met her. So I said, being English, we sort of abbreviate things. So from Elzbieta, I got down to LG.
LG.
It's Elizabeth. It's Polish. Elizabeth and Polish.
Okay.
So we try to make as much things we can homemade. The pies are things we're really getting famous for.
And she runs the kitchen.
She runs the kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's her domain, and I don't go anywhere near it.
Okay. So she is the one which we have to thank them.
Very much so. Yeah.
How does that work then? I mean, working so closely with your partner, or does it work? Well, in the sense that your roles are split. You're the landlord running the pub, management, and she's food. Does it work?
Yeah, the only thing we've got to be careful is not to be ships passing in the night. We have to we have to make sure that we have similar days off together and things like that. And I'm very conscious of that, because otherwise I'll be working down the bar while she's in the kitchen, and we'll never meet. And we won't have a life. It is. People forget running pubs is a lifestyle. It's not. you have to accept that. It's long hours, it's odd hours. You know, you're working Christmas Day. You're looking after everybody else when they're off. Bank holidays, we don't have bank holidays off. So it's very much it is a service industry, but you can't just, it's not a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And you have to accept that and work with that. I mean, for me personally, I've got a great team behind me here, phenomenal team. And you know, I'm very, very, very lucky. But that takes work to build that team up.
I can imagine.
Doesn't happen overnight.
I mean, you know, a lot of pubs, you know, I have to say, you go in and you don't always feel welcome, or the staff are grumpy, or they're having a bad day, and you know, they're not. There's not a smile on their face for whatever reason. Whereas here, your staff, you know, is it the training, whatever? But well, you talked about you're a bit of a family, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
And they are and they're young staff, a lot of them.
Very young,
and I'm always
very
impressed at their energy, and they're very courteous and, you know, welcoming. And I'm like, yeah, it's noticeable, so thank you. Yeah.
No, thank you. That's good, actually, because this is exactly, I always say, treat people as you want to be treated yourself.
Right, yeah.
And that's an ethos through life. For me, ale's very much my thing. Going back to the pub when I first came here, I found that it was an ale house. So I started up doing master classes.
And I love ale, so that's great for me as well.
Well,
you know.
you and me both. Thankfully, I actually drink the stuff I pour. But at the same time, saying that, it's, you know, I started doing master classes, workshops. I'm involved with Youngs to bring ale education in, because you've got a lot of guys out there haven't got a clue. And when you're dealing with real ales, you know, the draft ales, it's something, it takes time and it takes a lot of care, and there's still a huge market out there for it. Yeah. And for me, it's a market that we shouldn't ignore, and we really should be proud. It's so unique to this country. I don't think people realise you can't find that abroad.
Do you get camera drinkers coming?
I love camera. I love camera. Yeah.
People from
We were very fortunate in 2013 to be voted South West London Camera Pub of the Year.
Really? Wow.
Which meant more to me than anything else. It was after the years of hard work. It is difficult because Camera now, they've done their job. They've made real ale very, very prominent everywhere.
Yeah. Well, fashionable, isn't it? Craft ales.
Yeah, craft ales are huge. But it's the real ales are more my sort of side of things, where basically craft ales are more keg beers, meaning they finish their brewing process at the brewery, whereas your real ale finishes. You can have the best beer in the world come through your doors. It's what we do with it.
Yeah,
how we look after it.
Well, when I came in, you were sort of paying attention that the beer was being pulled through. I think the barrel had changed. I think for my one, wasn't it, for the special?
For the special, you know.
And you were very concerned it was it come through properly. So,
look how the staff were reacting as well. They were looking, they were smelling, tasting.
Yeah.
I do ale pie nights. I do meet like I said, meet the brewer nights. We try to do an awful lot for charity for these events. We do raise an awful lot of money for local charities. I try to pick on several during the year.
Okay.
And make a cause. And I tell you, for us as well, it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to those returning. You know, I'll probably get a bit more involved in those. But it was about here, and then about 6 months later, obviously things changed. 2020. So obviously.
But I do feel we're going to things very soon be back.
Yeah.
Hopefully back as normal as we can be.
Okay.
And I feel at the moment it's a great, you know. The football's on.
Yeah.
Even though we're not necessarily a big football pub, but if people want to watch, I've got no issues. We're a bit more rugby inclined, and that's probably myself as well. And also the game goes to the area we're in. There's an awful lot of rugby interest. Of course, we've got Wimbledon tennis coming up very soon.
And do you normally get sort of people associated with the tennis in here? Obviously,
we do.
You get
rule.
Fans. Yeah, of course.
As a rule, we get a lot of the players live around here.
They rent the houses, don't they?
That's right. So people rent their houses out and go off holiday to Bahamas or wherever. And literally the circus that comes in. So we got some really good friends. Every year we see the same, the same guys, not necessarily players. It's the guys associated with the gentleman who changes the tennis rackets for Federer and Andy Murray and the works. The guys who supply the tennis balls. The people who actually do the umpiring. A lot of them come to the area, and over the years we've become very good friends with them all. Unfortunately, this year, I think they will have to stay in one location, so we're missing that a little bit.
I think the players might have to, don't they? Because I was in a local Thai restaurant in Southfield the other day, and there was a TV person who was in there, and he had just arrived in Wimbledon, and he would sort of I think he was making that his place to eat on an evening, you know.
Yeah.
So I think you can start to see them sort of filter in now.
This year's going to be a bit strange. I think
it's not going to be quite the same.
No, it's not going to be quite the same because there's less of numbers attending. But you know, it's better than last year. We didn't have tennis at all. So,
Well, and walking through the village, all the Wimbledon flags are up and
That's
things.
right,
You know,
yeah.
the shops are displaying. You know, the sort of, the Wimbledon to the windows and things. So that's nice to see. Because to me,
phenomenal.
it's walking on the way here, walking through Wimbledon Village. It's
Yeah.
like there is that feeling of normality returning. Knowing that I was going to be able to walk into this pub and sit
Yeah.
down and have a pint with you, it kind of felt good. But have you always been in hospitality, and what drew you into serving? I guess.
Well, no, and I came by default. I went to art college. I went to Loughborough. I got a degree in ceramic design, studio pottery.
Really?
Had a little bit of an overdraft. That's back in the mid '80s. So I had a little bit of an overdraft. My parents, I come from North Wiltshire, Gloucestershire border.
Yeah. So I'm from Bristol originally. So yeah, that neck of the woods.
Yeah. So yeah, I was brought up. I was born in Hereford actually, but my parents moved out quite young to sort of the Wiltshire area, and needed a job. My mother knew these chaps who were setting up the first slug and lettuce pubs, which were the first, but they were first gastro pubs at the time.
Oh, were they gastro pubs?
They changed their identity.
So I
quite
remember
a bit.
they were from the sort of the 90s, weren't they? I think sort of
That's
mid
right.
90s, something like that.
So the first ones were all sort of in. I think it was Stratford upon Avon was the first one, and Worcester.
I assume they started in London.
Cirencester was the one I worked in. No, they came to London, Pimlico, I think, and but initially they were the ones with the open kitchens and the gastro style food.
Okay, interesting.
They've changed.
Yeah.
Now they're very much more sports bars.
Sort of bars, aren't they now? It's town centre bars, really.
They've really changed their identity.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a great education. Cheltenham was just down the road, so I ended up moving to Cheltenham. I thought, I'm in this game now, so I did everything. I worked in a nightclub and even see if that was the sort of thing I wanted to do. I ran a pub during the day. I did different events. I did got involved in. Would you believe I even got involved in early raves?
No way. Honestly.
Yeah, I ran the bars for some early raves. That was interesting.
That's probably a whole
balls
podcast in itself. Probably.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I can tell you a few tales. But I thought I was in it, and this is where guys who come in, like good example, companies like Young's, they don't have to do what I had to do then, was literally try all different venues to see what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure. I was only in my 20s. Now they can actually go through the company. The company will place them in different. Good example. Young's they have hotels.
Yeah.
They have city pubs.
Yeah.
They have countryside pubs.
Yeah.
They have pubs on the coast. So you can really, really sort of, you can find the one that suits you. And I think that's so important as well, going back to staff or managers even more so, is finding the right pub for the right people.
Okay, interesting concept.
So going back to what you said about this pub being quite, to me, this is a country style pub in the heart of London, or one on the outskirts of London, but coming from a country background.
You saw the vision.
Yeah, and to me, I look some mornings, there's no cars around us, it's just birds and, at night it's foxes, may I add. But,
okay, yes,
but it's very, very rural in that respect.
Interesting. So do you think the artist in you sort of saw the aesthetic opportunity then as well, where you say you expanded,
I think so. I think
you said it's changed a bit. You did a refurb, and
I was very much involved in the refurb. They brought me into it, and I was very happy for that. And I prevented certain things happening.
Right.
A good example was pint music in a pub. Why do you need it when the best music in the world is people talking? And the clinking of glasses and
I guess
the
it's
dynamic.
Knowing your pub, isn't it? And that's what this sort of pub is. It's not a young person's pub where it has got an extension to 1 a.m. or something. It's a community pub, isn't it?
You're saying that, yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
But you're saying that a lot of younger people get bored of the full intensity, boom, boom, boom pubs.
Yeah.
And some it's really interesting. What goes around comes around, and it's so true. And I've seen this happen, and I've seen a lot of younger people embracing what we're offering, embracing the ales, willing to learn, willing to be experimental. Yeah, and I love that, and I think, wow, fair play to them, and long may it continue. Actually.
And I think actually that's I see that in your staff, because a lot of your staff, when I've sat here and had a meal or just a drink, are always chatty, and want to talk, and they're not the image of a young person I've got in my head, sort of someone in their sort of early 20s or whatever. They're conversational, they're interested, they know about the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're not what this image of somebody working in a bar, with loud music and stuff.
Yeah, it's just a means to an end.
Yeah. Or, so it might just be me not knowing what young people are like these days. Or what's the kind of staff that you attract and work here? I don't know.
You're going to get some young staff who basically they just want to, they've been told to get a job.
Yeah. Yes.
Full stop. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's my job also, to make them engaged, to make them feel part of the pub, to make them take ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really happy that guys do. I've got several guys who do the marketing. I've got some other guys who do, say, reviews. Somebody else does training. And you give your staff ownership, and they become a bit more. They become very loyal and very passionate about it. Look, we all started somewhere.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen going back to young staff, I've seen them grow up in the pub environment. It's the first time they've had to mix out of their own age group.
Yeah, interesting.
For some of them, it takes time. And I've worked on some guys who I felt, oh dear, I don't think you're right for me. Do you know what? They've been absolute diamonds.
Really?
They've turned around and
so
they
people still surprise you?
Oh, all the time.
Being
all
a landlord and in working in hospitality these years, you're probably a very good judge of people.
Well, sometimes you like to think you are.
You think you are, yeah.
But but you can be pleasantly shocked, shall we say?
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's an environment's nice. We're blessed with lovely customers, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
That helps. That helps so much. I can't even stress. The location, the area, people feel comfortable here. But if we do have the odd occasion where someone is a bit, how shall we say, a little bit more aggressive to the staff, that's my job, and the more mature staff members to come in and put a stop to it, to make them feel protected. Got a lot of quite young ladies work here. They don't want to be harassed or abused. No one does. It's not, especially at the moment. I mean, they want to come to work, enjoy their experience, and reflect upon that in later life, and hopefully, if they have children, send them off to work in pubs. Because we need them. We need these guys. We've lost a lot of staff. We're a bit lucky here, but I know a lot of my colleagues in other young pubs are struggling to get staff in because a lot of the exodus of Eastern Europeans
have gone home,
for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And that's left a big gap in the catering industry, and it's we got to overcome that. And the only way we're going to do that is to make this job attractive.
Interesting, yeah. Because you're talking about from the staff members' point of view, unsociable hours working.
Dreadful.
It's all right if you're the other side of the bar. Yeah,
it's how you balance it. What I do here, we always need people at weekends. Of course we do, because it's the busiest time. But you try to be flexible with your staff. So if they do need a Saturday night off, no problem. But next week you're working Saturday. Yeah. So you move it around, and that's how I do when I put them on the road. I try to make it. I'm very conscious of that, because I remember when I first came in the game.
Yes.
And when you did 70, 80-hour weeks.
My God.
And you were just expected to.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, but it's not feasible, and it's not productive, and if you've got a tired member of staff, their frustrations will come out to the customer.
Yeah.
And likewise. It's all about the different dynamics.
During the lockdown period, how did some of your older customers get on then? The regulars, which would have just come here because
some of them suffered. Yeah, they very much so. And we again.
But I've seen some in there. They kind of they have their spots. They know each other. Then you think, where do they go? What can they do?
That's right. I mean, I got one gentleman in mind who was a big church goer. Couldn't go to church.
Yeah.
Couldn't come to the pub.
So
loved his rugby. Couldn't go to the games. So literally, that was his whole social life.
Yeah.
And life. And people he met just wiped out, and it was difficult, and a lot of them we're very conscious of still to this day. We try to. I do work, and I work alongside with other sort of regulars to keep in contact with them. Even if it's only once a week, to say hello, how are you?
That's good. It really is a community pub. It's interesting. Yeah, because I guess some of your friends aren't they? Of course.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, that's. Yeah, very much so. And also, you end up caring for these people because they become part of your life. And it's a big gap. It is. It was very odd.
Yeah. For someone that does work long hours and social hours, and as you say, with your wife, you've got to make sure your shifts correspond sometimes. I was going to ask you, what do you normally do when you actually have some spare time? But maybe the better question is, what did you do during the lockdown period? Because maybe that was actually just getting back.
Well, my wife was blessed to have, like I said, have this lovely horse. For me,
she had the horse, of course.
She had that, and she
could go out
and she was looking after other people as well, because at the time the stables, like I say, was threatened to be taken over. They were looking after other horses, and we did a lot of charity work for those guys. Okay. Everything from little stores to baking food. Christmas Day was a good example. We had a whole kitchen full of food, so there's quite a few elderly, vulnerable people in the area. We made meals. We made the Christmas lunch for them.
Andrew. I'd have thought, and that's amazing.
Well, we had it here.
You had the food, of course. You didn't see it go to waste.
Park Lane Stables, bless them, they were going around. They had a pony going around vulnerable houses. So my wife made there was one family in particular who really suffered. I think it was the mother unfortunately was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Oh dear.
Father, through the stress, had a heart attack, and they all caught COVID.
My God.
We made sure that they had Christmas meal, Christmas lunch, the works.
Oh, good for you.
So that was done on Christmas morning. My wife was cooking. Why not?
Yeah,
you know, it's
amazing.
look after people. Just look after people. And we did quite a few things for the stables. We raised some funds, did stores and all sorts of odds and sods. Yeah, it was odd for me. I came down, made sure the place was occupied. I kept myself occupied.
But was it a
chatting.
period to rest though for you, just to catch up?
It was a false rest, really.
Was it because you never knew? Like, you never knew what the things were changing.
That's right.
You never knew. Like, are we going to reopen or not? And
it was odd. It wasn't like going on holiday or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't like. It was just,
and you couldn't go on holiday anyway. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You couldn't go anywhere. It was a very odd. I couldn't see my own parents. You know.
Yeah.
It was very difficult. Who was still in
Wiltshire?
Wiltshire.
In Wiltshire still. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have the same. And I don't know whether you can say or not. You know, with the brewery, but I mean, you hear all these stories during the lockdowns of the beer that would go off. What did you do with your beer?
Oh, yeah.
Did you can't drink it all personally yourself, even though you're a lover?
Real Ale, it's got 1 month basically.
It's got a month.
Yeah, and people don't realise when you vent a barrel, literally you let the oxygen in. Oxygen's a great thing, but it also rapidly decays us.
Mm-hmm.
But it literally you got 3 to 5 days in which you use that barrel of beer up. So unfortunately, we had an inkling things were going on, but because we had another lockdown in November,
yes.
So the beers we did get in were already pretty old anyway. That we just had to throw it away.
Did you? Oh no.
But Young's being a sort of bigger company, obviously they did sorted deals out with them. Our main brewer now is Marsden's.
Okay.
So they took over the rights. It used to be how it was. People are not familiar. Young's used to have a wonderful brewery down in Wandsworth.
No, explain for people who don't know.
Yeah, so they're based in Wandsworth, and there's it's a great big brewer there.
Yeah.
John Young, bless him, passed away. I would say about 12 odd years, when I came here. In fact, about 12 odd years ago, and he was the last major, from the family, basically in Wandsworth. They sold the site. They still retain part of the site, so they've still got the house they used to use, and they've still got the brewery tap.
That's the site which is the Rams.
That's
yes?
right.
Yeah.
So what happened was Charles Wells were in a similar situation. They moved out of Bedford, the centre.
Okay.
But they built a state-of-the-art brewery about a mile outside.
Right.
And they were in threat of being taken over by another big company. So all of a sudden there was a marriage between Young's and Charles Wells. Mm-hmm. And it worked very well. And a lot of the brewers moved up to them. And it's effectively brewed under license, would be the better word.
Okay.
Then Charles Wells decided, actually, they wanted to go back to the original brewery in the centre of Bedford, and they sold the brewery complex to Marsden's.
Okay, right.
So Marsden's do their famous beer is Marsden's Pedigree.
Of course, yes, yeah.
But
another good bit, bitter.
That's right. But they've also got other beers under brewers under their sort of belt, which I think is Wingwood Brewery and Hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin,
Breakspear,
yeah.
So and Young's.
Yes.
So basically, they brew the Young's beers.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah.
To aficionados, it's not the same because
it's not direct from.
Well,
it's not direct from the Wandle or whatever.
Allegedly from the Wandle. They used the water table, but the Wandle was there. But but saying that, the consistency of the beer is phenomenal. I mean, I don't have a bad barrel hardly ever. Ever. Sometimes you might have a yeast infection. It's something they can't control. It happens.
That's just one of those things, is it?
It's one of those things. So it's very, very rare. The beer is phenomenally, and it really is. There's consistency and Young's Original is by far still my best seller.
For me, it's a session beer, isn't it? You'd say, I guess, and I like that because you can sort of, on an evening you can have a few of them, but you're still gonna, you're not gonna fall out with the pub. Put it that way. But you might,
but
well, yeah. For me these days,
six
or seven, I would probably on that. These days, even a little bit.
It's right. It's a social. It's more of a social drink. It's low alcohol in comparison to some of the other craft beers, but it's still very prominent in the area, and people grew up on it. Mm-hmm. We still do the light and bitter and the ramrod and special, and all these little quirky ones, which is great. I love all that sort of stuff. I do a really nice bottle beer range from double chocolate through to even Charles Wells's banana. Oh, there we are. Something dropped in the kitchen.
Oh, there we go. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so it's very, I'm very proud to serve it, and it's one of my, by far one of my best sellers.
And what's your favourite beer? If you had to have
Wow.
what if you had to drink your last beer, what would you choose?
Well,
oh, maybe it's not a beer. It's something else.
No.
A spirit or something.
I'm horrendous. No, I don't know. I'm horrendous. I'm so boring in my sort of dreadfully boring. It's Young's original. I'm so sorry to say.
That would be your last drink, would it? You would just savour that.
I've got so used to this flavoured profile. It's not saying that it's I'm not a big wine drinker. I'm not a spirit drinker.
No.
And if I have anything, and the staff know, and it's always in a handled glass, a jug.
Oh, okay. As we can see, yes.
You didn't ask why.
Why?
Thank you. Did I prompt you then? Basically, what people do when they have a beer, they put it to their chest, they hold onto the glass, the beer warms up. You have it in a handled glass, it's thicker glass for a start. It keeps the beer cooler longer.
I see.
Even though in my cellar's 11 degrees,
right,
and my beer comes around at that same sort of degrees, you don't want a warm pint of beer. You might as well drink a cup of tea. At the same time, you don't want a really cold pint. Because you get what's called a chill haze, and you lose your flavour profile.
Yeah, I mean, a bit for me is what, just slightly under room temperature. Would you expect it?
Well, hopefully, hopefully that's you know, you can't if you could go to 10. Sorry, you go to 10 degrees, but like I say, it can change, and the whole point of it, and this is what the craft beers do, because they're coming out of the same same chilling unit as your lagers. So they put lots of hops in it to make the flavour come up.
Yeah.
So they might be +1, +2. But if you did that with ale, you just lose all those complexities. You lose all that maltiness. You lose all those subtle hops. And this is what makes really. I mean, going back to this. I'm sorry to be a bore, but it's one of the things that makes it so unique in this country.
Interesting.
You can't replicate this, and no one else does. They try. They can't do it.
But it's that consistency, I guess. The thing is, I know normally you're going to get what you ask. I mean, I went for the special. Do you know what it was? I would normally actually go for the Young's Ordinary.
Yeah.
And just say pint of ordinary, please. As you do. Yeah. But it was just like when I'm here, it's a bit of a treat. I'm chatting to you. Why don't I have a special?
Well, it couldn't be any fresher, could it?
It was great. Really nice, really refreshing. As I say, walked here, cut through the village, and it was just nice. Yeah. Really.
It's a bit more complex. It's I call it sort of Young's. Basically, it's the original's older brother. It's the barley's a bit roasted a bit longer. Okay. It's a little bit more alcoholic.
Yeah.
It's 4.5%.
And what's that? Just under 4, yours?
Yeah, it's like 3.8.
3.8. Yeah.
So it's a little bit lesser. And it's got more. If you look at the special, just the colour, it's a little bit darker.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more complexities to it. But again, if you're just coming in for your mates and have a few beers, to be sensible, you want something that you can, like you just said, you don't want to stumble out of the pub on.
I can tell you that's a good sign though, because actual fact, one of the things that affected me with COVID, that we both got it about early on, back in March 2020. Me, I had it very mild. I just lost my sense of taste and smell.
Really? Wow.
And it's taken a while for it to come back, and it's still not fully there. I'm guessing about 80%.
So
I can taste that. I can taste the flavours. Yeah. So
that's
it's like it's. It's starting to come back, but also probably because this has got a lot of flavour that I can actually taste it. It's not bland.
Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all. That's interesting.
So that's a good example that my taste buds are returning.
Yeah, I was lucky not to touch wood, not to have anything, but...
Well, the thing is, you might have, you don't know, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
You might have been, a lot of, they reckon 15 to 20% of people in London, according to the ONS, had it, but they didn't know. Because, a lot of people are healthy and less susceptible, although they've got the germs, But,
sure.
Yeah, so that's a good example. Maybe that's a litmus test to see if your taste buds are returning.
What, come into the pint and have a pint of special?
Yeah, to see.
Right, we'll have a queue outside, please.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time because I know you're a busy man. And let me just have a quick look just through my notes here, just to see if there's anything that I really feel I should have asked you that we didn't touch on. Don't know. This has sort of put you on the spot a bit.
Go for it.
So, in your next life, what would your profession be? Would it be becoming an art, returning to your art roots, or would it just being a landlord again?
I don't know. My family were farmers.
Oh,
that was quite an interesting background.
Okay.
Also, another side of the family were jewellery smiths.
In Wiltshire, were they? Yeah.
No, Herefordshire.
Herefordshire. Oh, of course. Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. It's it's hard, isn't it? I mean, I'd love to probably pursue the art side of things.
Yeah.
Like I said, family years ago with jewellery smiths. So,
Interesting.
you know, they basically, interestingly, they made their money in London and moved back. Their names then were Prosser.
Okay.
And they moved from Ross and Y, where Prosser name comes from.
Ah.
They moved to London, made their fortunes. They moved back again.
Took the money with them.
Took the money with them,
to the
and
countryside.
actually bought a castle on the English-Welsh border.
No way. Gosh.
So one of the first pre-Norman castles. They ended up having that for many years.
Aristocracy originally.
No, I don't think so. No. They bought their way, should we say?
Yeah,
their way.
yeah.
But that would have been interesting to delve into that side of thing. Teaching, I'd like to do in teaching. I think.
Well, interesting to say that of all the
teaching.
all the various sort of events that you do have here normally. That obviously you've got a passion for sharing information,
and educating people.
Yeah,
and people leaving
leaving
feeling they've actually experienced something, and for me to feel that I've contributed to someone's life, in the respect that it's positive. Which I do on a daily basis with a pint of special.
Yeah, and you're clearly a people's person, and that helps with with education and training. You've got to be able to connect with someone, haven't you?
And communicate and get your ideas across.
Yeah.
But hopefully in the right way, and also inspire.
Yes. Yes.
I've done an awful lot of guys come through, done seller workshops with me. This is staff from other Young's pubs, and a lot of them. I got one gentleman over there just joined me. Used to work at the Dog and Fox many moons ago.
Okay.
Left the trade to come back, and he remembers me taking him into the cellar as a group.
Really?
And running through how ale's made, where it comes from, what it's all about. Enthuse people.
Yes. Well,
and rightly so.
Yeah. And I look forward to these will return. I'm sure your events. I'm looking forward to coming to one of those. And well, let me raise my glass to you and say cheers and say it's been a real pleasure chatting to you, Andrew.
Thank you.
And I guess I just round things off by just asking, is there anything you wanted to mention that I didn't ask you? And obviously remind people where the pub's located, but just the address, and you're on social media, aren't you?
We're on everything. Yeah, we do. Basically, our full address is, I won't go through the name, but it's just for simplicity, it's 6 Crooked Billet.
Yes.
And it's the hand in hand SW19 4RQ.
Okay.
But you can find us on social media. Find me out. I'm doing an awful lot of events. We do every year around Christmas time. I try to do several events. We do a mince pie eating competition to the sounds of Rocky's Eye of the Tiger. The record stands at 16 mince pies in 3 minutes 10 seconds. Yeah, they're like half a pint of milk. And we have a stores, and we try to make a fun pre-Christmassy event. The Friday before Christmas, I always do something daft to raise again money for charities. From everything from customers cutting I grew a beard very long, had them cutting that off in the hair, to having a spray tan.
Brilliant.
To doing, we're trying to get some musical events organised. It's, when we're allowed to do it.
Yeah.
We're
and it was a real shame for me and Emma, because actually Emma had been in Southfields many years ago and had left the area, and she knew this pub before, but when you were, before you were here, and then we came and she's like, it's changed. And it was like, wow, it was such a nice feeling, and
but change for the better. I like to think.
Of course, change. When we enjoyed ourselves, and
well, thank you.
And then, but 6 months later, we never really got the chance to, how would I put it, properly indulge.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that'll become very, very soon.
Yeah.
And it's also, like I say, the location's great. What you just said earlier, walk through the village. I always say to people, walk through the village, and then you come onto the edge of the common. Actually, walk through the common down to us.
Yes.
And you literally don't follow the road pavement.
No.
You just follow. You can obviously follow the road, but through the common itself.
That's what I did today.
Down west side, south side.
It's so nice.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And cross over the road, and there we are.
Yeah.
And then you can sit outside. We can sit on a little bit on the garden. Sorry, on the common itself, or actually in the pub environment. Yeah, it's nice. It's just. We're blessed. We're blessed to be where we are. We're blessed to have a lovely, lovely pub.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm blessed to have lovely, lovely customers. Because without the customers, I wouldn't have the pub.
No.
That's simple.
Yeah. Well, I think the forecast is for some sun later in this week. So maybe
tomorrow.
I'll come. Well, maybe I'll return later in the week and sit outside and
absolutely,
and enjoy.
Put your sun lotion on and get your sunglasses out. Have a Pimm's.
And cut my hair one way to see Wimbledon.
Yeah, I can with you on that one.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Excellent.
Andrew, thanks again.
Right, mate. No problem at all. No problem at all.
Cheers,
thank
mate.
you.
I love walking up a thirst and then dropping into a pub, and I can't think of any better place in London to indulge in that pleasure than the Wimbledon Common, followed by the Hand in Hand. I I hope to see you there sometime, and I know you'll get a warm welcome from Andrew. So thanks, Andrew, for being a great guest. For further details of where you can find the pub and other things mentioned in the episode, please jump over to the show's website for the episode's show notes at marriottsidetrips.com. That's MARRIOTTS-sidetrips.com. My publishing imprint brings today's episode to you, and for a limited period I'm making the first book, Cantifloss Guitar, in my Reluctant Pilgrim trilogy available for free. All you have to do is sign up to my author's newsletter and you'll receive access to an ebook version. Just click the Novels tab at the top of the website just mentioned and it'll take you to where you can sign up. Hope you're seeing some sunshine wherever you are today. Here in London, it's definitely drinking weather. Thanks for listening and take care.